So we're here to talk about Sid today, and I feel like honestly, he's a character that people either love or hate, and it's such a weird thing, and that's definitely something we're gonna dive into today. Um, I know all three of us actually haven't. Well, I know Jess very well, but um, I would say the three of us aren't very well acquainted. So let's let's just give each other a brief description, so that we can be a little more familiar. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, I
Oh,
knew
I
you
was
would
gonna
say
say
it.
not it.
I'd love to go first.
I knew it would be you. Thank you.
Just like a description of like myself and like my Final Fantasy self is good.
Yeah.
Or what
So
do
what
you?
I have two questions, and actually I think you could combine them together. So give us a
Cool.
brief description of yourself and tell us your history with the Final Fantasy series.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I'm Jess. I stream a lot of Soulsborne, a lot of Final Fantasy. I've been a gamer forever. And speaking of that, my first Final Fantasy game was when I was like 12 when I saw Final Fantasy X-2 at Blockbuster. And I saw the cover and it was three badass ladies and I was like, this is the game for me. And I played it and I had no idea what was going on and I loved it. And then I eventually played 10 and then I played 13 and I dabbled in a couple others and then didn't really return to it until I streamed 7 Remake like 2 years ago at this point, and then fell in love, played 7 Original, played Crisis Core, watched the Dirge cutscenes, not play Dirge. But yeah, the rest is history, and now 7 is my favorite Final Fantasy ever. And I'm excited to play more in the future, but yeah, 7 is where my heart lies.
All right. I'll go next. Just for you, Joy. Because I hate going first too, but I'll just do it. My name is B. I have been playing the Final Fantasy series since I was 4. I started with Final Fantasy 4 in the Super Nintendo, and from there I just kind of got each game as it came out. I played each one, but I feel like 7 and 8 have like a very pivotal part of just my growth as a human, as a young adult, and even now. And I was really hesitant when I saw the remake. I had a very visceral reaction when the remake was announced because that trailer, that E3 was incredible, but I wasn't driven to play it, so I took about a year before I played it finally. And I was blown away. I really enjoy what they're doing with the remake. And I'm really excited for Rebirth as well. Go ahead, Joey.
I can't avoid it anymore.
Yeah.
I am Curious Joy, but Joy is my name, so you can just call me by Joy. I am a JRPG fighting game streamer, and I have been playing Final Fantasy since Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Me and Final Fantasy are the same age, so whenever Final Fantasy celebrates an anniversary, I'm like, ah, crap. um, but yeah, like kind of like B, I was playing them as they came out. Once I got past the Super Nintendo era, since I was played them a little bit later because I didn't know how to read, and my brothers wouldn't let me play it. And then once 7 came out, it was about like 11 years old, and it was like the first time like I would like venture off and start playing the games more by myself versus like my brothers like standing over me like do this and do this and do this and do this. And then I started homeschool at the time, so when I was homeschooling, 7 was the main game that I kept playing, so it always has that little special heart. And like with Final Fantasy 8, it's leading into my preteens. Squall has a special place in my heart, and then all of stuff like that. I was definitely one of those ones that when the series changed from turn-based, I was like, oh no, don't change. But I'm glad that I'm over that now. And when it comes to remake, I remember did the AMC theater stuff in like 2015, I think, when it was most first announced. And I was sitting in the theater. I don't know. I looked at the vlog because I have a vlog about it. I was like, I don't know why I thought that they were going to show Final Fantasy VII Remake, but I kept asking for it before the E3 preview came out. And then when it happened, I was like, oh my God, it's happening. And then years later, here comes remake, and the one thing I always requested was I love 7 so much, but the only thing I want from remake is for it to combine all of the different franchises or game series that they have for 7 into one game, because it's kind of a little bit on the Kingdom Heartsy kind of side where there's like so many different stories and so many different games to attract many different audiences. And so all I wanted was for them to combine it, and then it seems like remake is doing that with like Zack situation, and even that little thing when you're in the Shinra building and there's like, oh, console, and so it's like, wait, I know who that is. And so it's like those cool little things that are that is all I wanted. And so Rebirth is like, we kind of have an idea where it could go, but I'm looking forward to seeing the changes.
Yeah, it's nice to be just kind of like on the ride right now, and it's really, for me, I had a lot of people who would just kind of challenge like, oh, well, it's not a real remake, and I'm like, I don't care. You know, it's the original people who are working on it. They're fully realizing their dream, and I think that's, like, as an artist, like, that's the ultimate goal, to be able to go back and tell the story you really wanted to, or what you think is the best story, is incredible. As well, I know Jess is kind of a little bit newer to the series, but like,
Yeah.
even just in
Comparatively.
gaming in general, I have to bring this up because I think this is such a strong topic right now, and I've been dealing with it personally as well. But like, I grew up and there were very few other girls who played games, and that always sucked, and it was always a boys club. And I feel like as we enter 2024, there have been so many of us who've been playing games for like 30 plus years, but it's still treated like this. Either you have to prove it. What do you know? Tell me what you know. Or people info dump on you. Or it's just, did you guys experience that too? What was your general experience kind of growing up?
That's why I started streaming, is because I really felt like I had no community around gaming, or I did, but people that I didn't really like identify with, or that sort of thing. I really like wanted a community of people like me that gamed, or that like just in general, and so yeah. And I do think I still experience that, a lot of gatekeeping, and that's like a big mission I have with content creation and streaming, is like I want people to just like play the games they want to play and love it, and find other people that also love it, and like to do this rules, because like that's what it is. We can all geek out about Sid, so amongst other things. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have dealt with that, because since I love fighting games, which is not something that a lot of women are part of, it's like a double whammy between loving fighting games and then loving just games in general. I remember when 7 Remake was coming out, and I would cover what was going on and what was happening and like get excited about stuff. Someone was like, "You're just lying because 7 is popular now," and I was like, "What?" So I
Oh,
was like, I literally like pulled out all of my Final Fantasy 7 games, like from PS1 and stuff. I was like, does this look like I'm lying? Like, what are you talking about? And so I had to defend myself at that one, because I was like, yeah, I don't ever claim to know everything. Like, with Final Fantasy, I don't claim to know everything. There's things that you can learn from other community members that you may not know. But it was just one of those instances where it's like, you can come at me for any other game, but you cannot come at me for Final Fantasy. I was like, you cannot say that I don't love a Final Fantasy game, since that is literally my all-time favorite franchise. And so I was
Yeah.
like, no, I have this. What do you know about this? Do you know about that? And so
Yeah.
it's just like, it really sucks that we have to be put in those positions to prove that, when it's just so easy for our male counterparts to just say one thing and it was like, oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, but I literally just said that. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
We shouldn't have to haul out all our memorabilia to be like taken seriously.
Oh, but then on
Mhm.
the other side of it, what I get is, oh, well, you're a little bit of a know-it-all, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're being too like, you don't have to dump all of this info on me. You're kind of intimidating. You're a little bit
Yeah.
gatekeepy. And I'm like, wait a second. I have to be to prove that I am somebody who likes this game. And I don't want it to be the case. I don't want to come off as intimidating or anything like that. But that's just like the sad side of it. And then even just posting the tweet that we were going to be doing this, like some of the
Yeah.
comments that we got, I got them. I have them pulled up. And it's ridiculous what people feel the need to say and just comment. Like I got one comment. This person was like, I like when he beats Shara. I hope they keep it up. Kick it up a few notches. He puts a cigarette butt right in her fucking eye. And I'm like, okay, you know what you're doing when you say stuff like this, because you know it's a comment on a post full of women who are going to be sitting here talking about Sid. And we all just told him he's weird because, yeah, weird headcanon. Did we all play the same game? Yeah, like,
Just
I'm
blatant
obviously,
misogyny.
yeah, it is. And then the other one, Finny got this on her post, but proof that women love men who treat them like garbage. And again, like, we all kind of reconvened about this and we're like, did we all play the same game as these people? Because it does not feel like it. It just doesn't.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those instances. Like I have a friend that just recently played the original, and I sat there waiting because with all of these comments that go off, I was just like, maybe I am nuts. Maybe Sid is this type of person, and I was just like, he was just my favorite party member. Like I was like, maybe I'm just nuts. And so like I sat there and watched them play, and then as soon as they got to the reveal of Shira and like his backstory and stuff, she was like, you know, I'd be pissed off too at this person who messed up my dream. So it's like, okay, I'm not nuts. I was like, I'm not the only one that sees this, where it's just like he stopped his entire dream. All he wanted to do was go to space, and he stopped it to save her life. And so there, like, no one in the planet can sit there and say you will not live and have a grudge against someone like that for like forever. Because it's like, yeah, you may care about somebody, but at the end of the day, it's like that was his dream.
Yeah, it's so
And it was
complicated.
ruined.
It's not as simple as Sid hates women.
Right. And that's the
Which
thing,
is
like,
so silly.
you
People just
can't-
jump to that.
you can't talk about Sid without addressing, you know, how he treats Shara. It's absolutely messy, but like they live in that weird situation of it doesn't feel like either of them have sat down and addressed it with each other. And they're living, I think it's like 5 or 6 years since the failed rocket launch. And, you know, Sid is stubborn and obviously has a lot of regret for not achieving his dreams because he chose to save her life. Like, just watching him hit the button, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's not an amazing graphic game, but like that's such an emotional
Just walk
thing.
in.
Like, yeah, he just like and then on her side, like, she knows that she did the right thing, but she feels bad because she just wanted to see him do what he loved. And I don't think that that's an easy situation to navigate. And I do hope that it gets like approached a little bit differently. But I think it's a lot more complex than people let it be. I'm not going to defend him being as verbally abusive as he is at all. But it almost feels like the angry dad in a lot of ways. Like he's just a grumpy old man.
Yeah. And also, it's not his wife. he says it in the game, and people keep saying, I like that he hurts his wife. I was like, literally, like 5 minutes. If you play the game for 5 more minutes, he goes, ugh, gross, basically. He's like, no, I would never marry her.
They
Or
do
something
get
like that.
married in
Yeah.
because I guess it's later. It's after.
Or it's like
His life.
Yeah.
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 but I mean,
But in the
he
current
goes through both.
situation,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like once you start seeing the huge development in Sid's growth, when he was forced to become the leader, because no one else could do it. And that's one of the main reasons why I always love and appreciate Sid, because he was the oldest one out of the group, or one of the oldest one. Barrett was older. Um,
Mhm.
and so nobody could take charge after everything that happened. And then when Tifa left, and then Cloud was off in La La Land, and so like no one would do it. And so he had to stand up. And so that's his turning point of becoming the person that eventually becomes worthy of not worthy, but just, like the better version of Sid, to be able to
Yeah.
forgive. Because at the point that we meet Sid, he hasn't forgave Shira.
Mm-mm.
And it's so still close to what has happened. Because 5 years, this is a long gap. So, he needed to change. And then you see that within the game. But everyone just sees like asterisk and signs and thinks he's a terrible person.
Oh man, I had Sid in my party during the fateful Aerith scene when, she gets shish kebabbed, and it is one of the funniest things because it's just basically like, Cloud, what the bleep are you doing? Cloud, stop. Oh, bleep, like the whole time. And it was like, I knew this was going to be sad and emotional, so I was glad to have the comic relief of Sid. I did not expect it. It was awesome.
I recommend, if you want your heart to break, to take Yuffie.
Okay.
Her
Oh,
reaction.
yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm really curious when it comes to that, and I don't want to delve on that because I know that we could probably talk for hours about what we think is going to
Yeah.
happen there, but I
Yeah.
hope that you can pick your party,
Mhm.
or maybe it'll just be everyone there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Also,
yeah,
don't
someone
either.
mentioned it. Someone mentioned it in chat. Kind of what I brought up to you both earlier, where it's like, how would they feel with Barrett's language then? And it seems like it's an unfair thing because Barrett had just as much as a potty mouth as Sid did in the original, but no one ever talks about that. I
Yeah.
mean, they talk about other things when it comes to Barrett, when it comes to like stereotypes
Yeah.
of how it was based off of at the time. But yeah, Barrett was just as bad with his language.
Yeah.
No, I agree. So I guess here's the big one. Why do you guys like Sid or love Sid? I'll just start. For me, I always looked at him as the everyman that had dreams crushed by capitalism. And I
Mhm.
think that he has probably the one of the more fleshed out playable character stories out of everyone in there. Like, Red's story kind of ends when you get to Cosmo Canyon. If you have him in your party, you get a few little more extra insight from him, but like it ends there. Um, I think it's really interesting to watch his arc. He has hope. His dreams are crushed. He sits salty with that. He gets to space and he's suddenly inspired again to protect his home. And I don't know, I've always really liked that about him.
I love that. I like Sid for so many reasons. I think, his demeanor feels like very I live in Chicago. I'm a Midwesterner. He feels like a Midwesterner to me. Cuz he is like, bottles up all his emotions, and he's still very ambitious and wants to succeed, but like doesn't really know how to process things. And he just is like that Midwestern dad drinking old style, being like, ah shit, this my dreams, this rocket. But at the same time, I really like um, how he is like a positive spin on science for Final Fantasy VII. How so much of Seven villainizes science. Think about like Hojo and all that kind of stuff. It's like the science is always for evil, and Sid makes it just like a pure ambition for like wanting to find advancement and achieve things and get to space and all that kind of stuff, which I really like. And it doesn't seem like he has a big agenda with it either. Like he just wants to do it for the sake of doing it, or because it's his dream. It's not like he wants to do it to gain power or anything like that. And I like that a lot too.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of a mix of the things that you guys mentioned. And what I mentioned before was like he was the only one who was willing to push the party forward. When the only reason he really went with everybody was he's like, yeah, you guys want to turn on Shinra? All right, I'll go.
Mhm.
um, but it just seems like outside of like, you know, like Yuffie and Vincent, because they really technically didn't exist, like he didn't have any real connection to anything that happens in the game. He had his own tale and his own reasonings. And it wasn't for Sephiroth or anything like that. It was just like, I admire people, especially just like for us as like content creators and stuff too. Like we all have like our dreams. We want to fight for our dreams. And then like seeing someone so passionate to be able to do whatever they can to be able to make that dream eventually become a reality and then have it taken away to then try and keep going for it. It's just like, there's so many different themes when it comes to Final Fantasy VII, where it's like loss, grief, hope, dreams, and stuff like that, and just the hope for a brighter reality and a future, and just to be able to achieve your dreams in such a horrible situation of meteors coming down to the planet is one of the main main storytelling arcs of Final Fantasy VII, and Cid is the embodiment of that.
It's funny
Yeah, I love
because
that.
you see him as, like, people always say he's a grumpy old man, and I even just said it, but when I was looking at some of the cutscenes of him today, especially post the OG game, he's probably one of the most like upbeat characters. Like he's always
That's
just
a good point.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it
I kinda
could just
forget
be his revitalized sense of like who he is after he gets to space.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point too. Is like his character really does have an arc. Like he changes, and that's awesome. Like great writing, you know.
Yeah, and it's someone, and it's not that far into the game, but it is like the later party member too, to be able to connect with them in that way.
Yeah.
Is really well, and so it's a cool thing that the game writing forced him to take that lead because you just met him, and then all hell broke loose, and it's like, oh
Yeah.
wait, by the way, we have this character here.
Right.
So I know Rebirth isn't out yet, but I'm looking forward to part 3 because if they continue with that, he has to take the lead thing. I'm excited.
Me too. Yeah, agreed.
So why, I mean, I think we answered this and why we love Cid, but I think that a lot of what I see is like people being confused why people think of him highly when he like the way I worded this question is why do we think Cid is held highly by so many when it feels like his story is misunderstood? Like why is it that what people remember about his story is that he swears a lot versus like what happens when he gets to space? Do people just forget Disc 2 happened?
That's a good point because even I do that. And I have never really examined why.
Like, how can you forget? You get a summon in space. Like, wait a
Yeah.
minute.
True.
Yeah, I don't like, I can see why people kind of sideline Cid. And I think the main reason is he probably gets sidelined is, yeah, he's forced to become the leader when Cloud and Tifa are out. But most people got connected with Cloud and Tifa and Aerith and Barrett and everyone. So when they are met with somebody that is now the leader that they just met, in a sense, they're just worried about getting back those characters that they lost from being able to play because there was just back-to-back traumatic events.
Yeah.
So I can see it in a sense of, yeah, Cid's a great character, but I overlooked it because I just wanted to figure out what the heck is happening with Cloud. So it's like, it makes sense why people probably just sideline it. So it would be nice if they put it more in the forefront, which Remake has been doing. Because to sidebar it a little bit, growing up, my brothers told me the fate of Aerith, so I kind of already knew, but it didn't like sabotage my experience playing it. So I never had her in my party. I like one time I 100% it and then got like her final limit break and everything like that. But if you don't have people in your party, you don't really get to know them as much. So by the time that happens, like if you never had Aerith in your party, then it's like, oh, okay. uh, and so I feel Remake is doing such a good job at forcing you to get to know people. So
Yeah.
if the fate happens in Rebirth, I am going to lose it because now I absolutely love Aerith
That's
and I
so
did not
true.
care for her at all. And so I feel like they're giving everybody such good moments for you to connect with them. It's hard to figure out how to be able to get Yuffie into the main story so she gets a DLC. And probably Vincent will probably be more entwined with the story because it's like Turks and everything like that.
Mhm.
So I feel like they're just doing such a really good job at forcing you to get to know characters that you probably weren't able to get to know if you did not have them in your party. You didn't play them multiple times.
I want to circle back to this because Lully actually said this, and I think it's true. She said, I don't think we talk enough about how he was also carrying the hopes of every space scientist engineer that built that rocket, too. It wasn't just his dream, it was theirs, too. And I mean, maybe that's something we'll get more of because, I mean, they don't seem too bothered. They just kind of, you don't even see anything about him, you know? It's just he's the one that you visually kind of see lamenting about it.
Mhm.
But you're right. I mean, and that's an avenue they can definitely pursue because it's a hard pressure to fail so like publicly too.
Yeah. Yeah, not only the pressure you put on yourself, but of your team, and then the mixed in with the guilt with Shara and everything is it's a dangerous cocktail of emotions.
That's a lot for a 32-year-old to
Yeah.
like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
How old am I?
Yeah.
So, how did you guys feel when you finally saw him revealed at the game
I
show?
jumped out of my chair and ran sprints. And then
Yeah.
came back.
I peaked my mic perhaps more than I've ever peaked it before.
It's like one of those things where you knew that this was the time to see him, and I hoped and I prayed that this was the time to see him because this is that's the last trailer I will be watching for Rebirth.
really?
Because I don't want to do anything else. I was like, I'm already gonna play it. I know I'm gonna play it. I know I'm gonna love it. But I felt like I needed one more thing, and I needed the confirmation. I know everybody knew Sid was gonna be in the game, but I needed the visual confirmation, and it was the last hope for me to get that visual confirmation since I'm not watching any other trailers from here on out. And so as soon as I saw him, and it was like before, I was like, oh, it's right after like the girls doing the cute fan
Yes.
dance, and I'm just like my whole face is just like,
Yes.
oh, they're like, wait.
I like came out of nowhere. Yeah, I didn't expect it. Well, I don't know. I didn't really expect to see like a big reveal like that at the Game Awards, I guess. And so that was like already I was just like taking it all in, and then I saw Sid and I was like, oh, it's on. And then I guess I watched like the extended trailer after the Game Awards were done, and then you hear his voice. What do you guys think of his voice?
I love it.
Yeah, I think
Me
it's
too.
perfect. Yeah.
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 I'm not familiar with anything else that voice actor's done, but
I unfortunately am.
Oh.
Yeah, I
oh.
looked him up. It's the same guy from he's in like the English Attack on Titan, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, he's also the English voice of Ida in My Hero Academia.
Oh.
And so found that out. This is shortly after playing a My Hero game where that specific character irritates me. And I
Oh,
was like, great, now I can't get mad at this character because it's Sid Hyland.
Sid. That's funny.
Wow.
Yeah,
My-
I was afraid. I didn't really like, I don't know, his voice was a little over the top for me in Advent Children, but I think that what they showed for Rebirth is like a nice, like happy medium, like has personality and character, but it's not like overly caricature or cheesy or whatever.
Yeah, same with his voice in Kingdom Hearts was super strongly Southern.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's in Kingdom Hearts. Sorry.
No, I played Kingdom Hearts
Yeah.
like as a kid, and like before I played obviously any of 7. And my chat was telling me the other day that I need to go back to Kingdom Hearts for all the Final Fantasy 7 stuff because there's a lot. But yeah.
Let's see here. I was thinking about oh wait, let's see. There's a lot of similarities between Coral and Rocket Town, absolutely decimating the economies of both cities, and how they explore that aspect of Shinra's impact on the world and citizenry is actually like, I always draw that like parallel to. I think they're very similar stories of how Shinra went into a place and kind of like messed it up and was like, all right, never mind, we're out. I mean, I guess in Coral they technically funded the gold saucer, but like
Yeah.
it's there's a lot of examples of that in the world, but I feel like those are probably the 2 best examples. Yeah, that's a little bit of a segue. But I was gonna say what we do know about Sid, because I know somebody also just brought up in chat. They're not sure if he's gonna be able to be controlled. I don't think he is. Per
Yeah, I
Square
think
Enix,
it's gonna be like Red 13.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
so
I could.
too.
Yeah, like with Vincent as well, saving them for part 3 probably.
Yeah. So it says Square Enix Black said Sid is a rogue pilot of reputable skill that runs a shuttle service out of various abandoned airstrips. After Cloud and company flag him down, he flies them around the globe in his beloved tiny Bronco. So, I mean, it definitely sounds like there's a little bit of a shift in how Sid is going to be introduced. I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I don't think Rocket Town is going to make an appearance. I think how he's going to appear in the game is going to be a little bit different. And it makes sense because I have watched it a few times today and I'm like, you know what? Some of this just doesn't make sense. And I don't know, like in the OG, we didn't see technology so much in the, the world map. But when you watch the end of Crisis Core and you see from Nibelheim to like all the way through while they're driving on the highway, that's built up. There's stuff there. So I could totally see him operating on like airstrips and stuff.
I don't know. Because I'm curious to see like how if they don't show Rocket Town, how they're gonna do his backstory, or if they do it, then they'll probably do it in a different way. I don't know. I want to see that. Sorry, you go ahead.
Oh no, continue that.
I was just gonna say I want that fight with Palmer.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I think that'll still happen.
I hope. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think the way that they describe it in the blog is still a valid point because Shinra is doing nothing but taking all of Sid's planes, and so probably at this time there's not as many planes to be able to go, and that's the reason why Rufus goes and hangs out and he's like, I want the tiny Bronco.
Yeah.
And all this stuff like that. So there probably is just some air dock or something, and there'll probably be like some hints where he's like, oh yeah, I had a dream once or something like that, and then like you kind of get an idea. But because if they handle it the way that they did with Red 13 and remake, then it's like you kind of get to know him, and then you kind of get an idea that he knows more stuff. But we'll talk about it next game. And so with 3, it'll probably be more impact to get his backstory when or if Cloud and Tifa leave the party for that period of time, because then it'll be like, oh, you're our leader now, what about you, or something like that.
I would love to see I just would love to see him take the lead at all in 2 or 3, because I wonder, like, depending on what they do in Rebirth, part 3 could just be a whole new can of worms, you know what I mean? So
I think the rocket needs to happen. Like, that's such a huge moment, and I've been worried that maybe the big materia thing, like that whole character arc, won't happen, and that would suck. So I feel like they have to do it. There's a few people saying that they thought they saw Rocket Town in the trailer. I didn't parse it, but you never know. Could be in there. I heard a theory, and I enjoyed this, is that he's kind of working off of these airstrips, and you run into him, you flag him down because you want to use the tiny Bronco. And you don't see Shara, but there's like, you know, a radio, and they're kind of bickering with each other. And
Yeah.
I like that's kind of the gist of what you get. I think it'd be really nice to get the backstory,
Mhm.
maybe when
Yeah.
you meet him still, to kind of understand. I know I've seen a lot of people though with his introduction, they don't like that he seems way too nice.
Mm.
And I'm
Yeah,
like,
Well, that's
I've
just
heard that
weird.
too.
yeah.
I've heard that too, and also think it's weird.
I definitely, after the trailer went out, I looked back when we first met him. I was like, when you first meet him, he was willing to answer your questions. He was like ready to like give you as much information as he possibly can until he gets reminded and talks about the past where the rocket failed. And then he's like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
But before that happened, he was answering all of your questions. Yes, I'm me. I'm the captain of this is this and this is that. And then memory hits and he's like, actually get out of my rocket.
Yeah. I'm experiencing emotions. Can you please leave?
Yeah. And I do think that could be an interesting way to kind of like give Shara a little bit more of like space to be her own person as well. Like they're
Agreed.
both separate from each other. I can't imagine like as a married woman, if I was in that scenario and I wasn't sitting down, and I know they're not married, but like even just living in a domestic like relationship where you live with each other, I don't think you could survive that long without talking, without it getting
Sure.
super, super toxic. So I could see
Mhm.
Sid being the kind of person who's like, all right, fuck it. I'm not going to be here. I don't want to be around my rocket. He goes there to have his moments to himself
Mhm.
if he needs to, but like he does the travel to be away from it and to be away from Shara, who reminds him of it too.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and like even just talking about this, I was like, wait, maybe that's why he comes in so aggressive because he just had that remembrance of the past when it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, dang, get out of my thing. And then he comes in, get your dang tea, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
like, yeah, he was just mad. So yeah, it reminded, and he sees her face, and he's like, it was your fault.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, the tea.
Well, and it's funny because he's trying to be hospitable too. Like he's
Mhm.
like, "Get them tea. They're our guests." Essentially,
Yes.
I mean, like
Yes.
it's very bizarre behavior, but like that's why I can't fault him. I guess I don't know. Like he's still trying to be a nice guy. He's got some opinions about Shara, and I think the other problem is that Shara is very passive about all of it. Like
Yeah.
when she tells you, because she's the one who tells you the story of what happens to Sid. She says at the end of it, that's why it's all right. I don't care what Captain says. I'll live my life for him. So obviously she's had feelings this whole time for him. She doesn't care. She's made it clear like it's okay. This is fine. I'm going to do this because I deserve it. And like
Yeah.
I don't know, that's not okay, but that's why I could see them kind of being separate from each other because they bicker way too much. But I think it'd be fun to see Shara push back a little bit more. And then there's
Agreed.
also party
Yeah.
dynamic too. Like we know these characters have more personality now. I feel like Aerith, Barrett, Tifa, they'd all call his ass out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I would love
Yeah.
to see Tifa and Aerith like coming to Shara's defense or something. Yeah. I don't know.
In another instance, if you have Yuffie in the party,
Yes.
Yuffie stands up and he's like, "You can't talk to her like that." So there already is that sort of
Oh, no
situation.
way.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
That's great.
So there are people that do mention these things, and that's when Shira is like, "No, it's okay. It's my fault. I deserve this." And so it'll be nice that this is where the voiceover will help, where it's just like you will be able to see Shira like trying to fight back, but then it's also like, oh, actually, never mind, it's my fault. And I think a lot of people on the planet has been in those situations. You're like, yeah, it's fine. fine.
Yeah.
One of my other favorite things is with his reveal, a lot of people have been like, oh my God, he actually looks his age. And I said that too. And a lot of people
Yeah.
are like, what do you mean? He does look his age. And I'm like, no, they depicted him like an old man. And this hits harder now that I'm 34. Because
Yeah.
I'm older than Sid. I'm not old. I'm in my prime.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, his and it, like his little picture. It's like, is he blonde? Is he those gray?
Yeah.
Yeah. Little ashy blonde. Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
they
and his
make
like
it.
skin, his like stubble, he's not
Yeah.
like a glowing youthful,
He's
I
got
don't know.
the sunken face too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they kind of make it seem like the rocket launch was much further away. Like sometimes it feels
Mhm.
like that was like 10, 15 years. It's really only like when he's 26, I think. So it's
Mm.
not that far away from where he is. But I mean, games have never done a good job on depicting age. Look at Auron. Auron is 36.
Yeah,
Doesn't look.
I love Aaron.
I do too. I mean, he's a silver fox, right? But like,
Mhm.
yeah, but like, I just remember being a kid. I'm like a little bit older than that, right? Like maybe like 40. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing people are mad about is they're not seeing his iconic cigarette pack.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of people are really, really pissed off about that. And I'm like, it's probably an advertising thing. They probably
Yeah.
can't show cigarettes because of marketing and laws and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can. I mentioned this in my chat the other day. I was like, someone was talking about how the fact that the Genova situation wasn't as spooky and scary and stuff like that in the remake, and I was like, well, in 1997 there wasn't realistic graphics back then, so you can get away with a lot more stuff. It was still rated T for teen because of its like what things it talked about within the game and like the cursing implying and stuff like that. But now you can't just have like all this blood on the floor and be like, we're rated T for teen.
Yeah.
and so it's just like, and so like there are certain things where it's like you don't want to like you mentioned with marketing, you don't want to advertise T for teen, like even though you can't actually technically smoke until you're 18 plus, but the 13s are still teenagers, so you don't want to be like, yeah, he's over here smoking the river. Like,
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts
Yeah.
changed it to like a toothpick or something like that. So
mm-hmm.
I
I'm
wasn't
just- I'm-
surprised.
When you guys were like, he's in Kingdom Hearts, I that like unlocked a memory. Is he the gummy ship guy?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, he is.
The way I just connected that is like blowing my mind.
And his white shirt and his like good old
Yeah.
belt.
Yes!
And he's like all the way
Oh
up
my
here.
god, this is changing my
And-
life.
And they call him Gramps.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I need to replay Kingdom Hearts, I guess. Holy
Yeah.
cow.
There's a lot of Sid content in that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow.
But I mean, also the ESRB rating literally says tobacco use. So
Oh.
I'm
Mhm.
sure he's going to smoke. It's probably just not like in that shot they decided to show.
Yeah. It
But-
reminds me of watching anime and like they have like lollipops instead of cigarettes or something, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the toothpick effect too.
Yeah. Imagine that being everyone's characteristic of a character, though. Where it's like, it's not Sid unless he smokes. So it's like,
Yeah. That's weird. That's
Huh?
weird.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, people really
guess.
tie all the negative traits to him, and I'm like,
They do.
you're forgetting the good things. Like, I get it. Maybe he's just real. Like, we're not all good people. We all make shitty choices, and even so, the choice he made wasn't actually shitty because he
Right.
probably would have
Saved
died.
a life.
Cheryl would have died. Everybody on that rocket probably would have died. So I wonder if that's like another huge epiphany he had, where he's like, oh,
Mhm.
another like thing that I've seen people suggest is with his behavior in the trailer, he essentially is he seems too nice, right? So they're
Mhm.
saying they think that he's trying to lure the team in so that he can turn them in for attention with Shinra. And I mean, I guess I could see it, but I just don't. I feel like he feels way too anti Shinra in a way that I don't know that he'd want to collab with them. I don't know.
Yeah. The way that I saw it, just understanding Sid as a character, was yeah, he was seem eager to help. But again, Remake's introduction to all these characters are different. So I feel that the person that is going around telling everybody the situation of what is happening has been Aerith. So Aerith is probably out here saying, here, this is our situation. Shinra's doing this, Shinra's doing that, because they're not going to let Barrett talk to people because Barrett doesn't know how to talk to people. So Aerith is the one that can say something. Cloud isn't going to be there. I know he wasn't in the trailer, but I'm assuming he's around. Like, they're not going to have Cloud talk about it. Tifa, as tough as she is, she's still as shy as ever. And so it's like Aerith has been the one to explain situations to people. So yeah, he's like, hey, she probably sat there and said, like, Shinra did this, the president's dead, like all this other stuff. Rufus is doing the most. And so he's like, you know what? I hate Shinra too. So I will do anything to help. That's what I got out of it. So when I went
Yeah.
to Twitter and I saw all these other people, that's weird. I was like, huh?
Yeah.
And Sleep Easy brings up a good point. There is a bounty on them.
Oh, right.
So, you know, the suggestion is that maybe like, here, I got them. Can you please help me with the space program again? Or to repair the plane if it's broken. But I don't know. The way the Tiny Bronco functions, I don't know that it's going to function the way it did in the original. I think it'll crash, but I don't think it'll be like our boat to get around. Like, I just don't think that that makes sense, especially because we know we're not going to have access to the whole world. Like, they've
Yeah.
said Wu Tai isn't going to be a place you can go. So that's where I'm like, I don't know. It's a weird
Yeah, I wonder
one.
how they'll handle the open worldness of it all in general, because obviously, like, there are those open world sections like we played in that demo, but like the connection between those sections, you know, is, I don't know.
I've seen people
Yeah, I guess we'll
suggest
find out.
there'll be like a fast travel kind of thing, but
Yeah.
I mean, you got the chocobos for that too, so I don't even.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Um,
petting all those chocobo chicks to get my fast travel.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, me
I mean, if there's an option to pet Sid, I'll do that too. But
I hope they give us one chance, just one chance to pet Red. Just what I know he
Oh.
wouldn't like it, just one time, just like
Yeah.
there, buddy.
Like, pet him instead of kicking a soccer ball in his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, just let me pet you instead of. I was such a mean kid. I would kick that ball.
Me too.
Poor thing.
No, I did too. I'm sorry, Red. So I actually sat through today while I was working and I watched the Before Crisis segment for Sid, and they really added some extra things that I like had zero idea of, and some of it is honestly very extra. Like, I think they like Avalanche tampers with the oxygen tanks. They try to come in and like make the rocket launch not happen. And somebody steals the Tiny Bronco. That's another thing that like weirdly happens. But I think that I don't know much about Before Crisis. I haven't sat down and watched all of it, so maybe it makes more sense if I look at the bigger picture. But I could see maybe the sabotage of the oxygen tank being something that like Sid doesn't know about, Shara catches on to, and like that's why he's stubborn about it. He doesn't understand everything has been good. Why is it suddenly not good? And that leads to their like demise. That just kind of like planted that seed in my head a little bit of like That was a weird one because I've never sat with Before Crisis. I don't know if you guys have.
Well, because it
Mm-mm.
was hard to get a hold to,
Hmm.
and so that's the thing that I want remakes all to do is just to combine all these stories. It's like they re-released Crisis Core because no one was able to play Crisis Core because no one's nuts like me to buy an entire console to play it. So it's just like there's all these different side stories that then they play as main like ideas, and it's like a lot of people were unable to get that, and I got really distracted at Puppy.
Yes, she's joined me.
So this is what it says. It says in Before Crisis, Shinra number 29 is to launch on April 11th, 2003. Vice
Mhm.
President, how old would Rufus be at this point? Vice President Rufus Shinra is overseeing the celebratory ceremony, but finds the idea of space travel pointless. Sid accuses Rufus of being cynical compared to his father. The eco-terrorist group Avalanche attempts to steal the tiny Bronco, and Rufus's bodyguard, a member of the Turks, saves it. Avalanche attacks the rocket led by Shears, who is a character I do not know.
Yeah.
Avalanche steals an oxygen tank to stop the rocket launch, but Sid tells Rufus and President Shinra to continue despite this. The president
Mm.
agrees, so Avalanche resorts to kidnapping Sid. Sid is rescued. See, like I don't get kidnapping him because then he has zero reason to be mad at Shara anymore. That's a weird one. Shara,
Yeah.
Sid's assistant, is doing a safety check, unwilling to let the rocket launch kill Shara in the blast. He halts it.
Hmm.
I don't know where that all goes. Some of it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. But that's what kind of the
Yeah.
compilation did.
Huh.
Yeah, well, that's one thing. Sid's in every single compilation at this point. He's in Dirge of Cerberus, he's in Advent Children, he's in Before Crisis, which I think they're adding that to the mobile game. I think there's a way to play that.
Oh.
But yeah, it's just like his story has been intertwined with Shinra since the beginning of Shinra
Mm.
has been known. So hopefully they dive into a little bit more of all that stuff. But then they did mention in the Game Informer article that there are side missions to get to know characters a little bit deeper. And that's where the meat of it is, of the gameplay, besides the story. So that could be something to
Yeah.
improve that relationship, to dive in deep with more of that.
Yeah. I think
Good
there's
point.
a interesting concept there that they could probably work with. I like the idea of Rufus didn't see something successful about going to space. They wanted to focus on, Mako at that point. And so someone tampers with it, and that leads to what happens essentially. Like, I think it'd be okay. What do you guys want to see change or not change about him?
I don't know. I would like to just see him stay a little bit of comic relief with his cursing. I think that's fun, but I also hope that that doesn't drown out his heartfelt qualities. I guess kind of similar to how he's depicted in OG, but yeah, I just would like to see them, if Shara's in it, I would they've got to clean up how he treats her. I think that goes without saying almost, but yeah. And I'm excited to see him interact with other party members more, I guess. Because it's not just limited to who you have in your party with him and all that. So I guess that's what I'm more excited to see.
If I were to change anything about Sid, it would be him being a little bit more, he already is, but the more logical person, since he doesn't have any ties to Sephiroth or anything, just Shinra. And since he is, besides Barrett, well, Barrett is older, but he doesn't act older because he's just a one-track mind of saving the planet. Where
Yeah.
like he is that person that like like it doesn't only have to be Aerith, because right now it's only Aerith that's trying to bring everybody's level-headed down. And so if she isn't there forever, then it's like there has to be there has to be that replacement of the person that keeps everyone level-headed. So I would like them to have Sid be more of that logical thing and have that sarcastic but then like playfulness of his personality shine a little bit more with doing that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, and Barrett does love his little girl. Oh, Barrett's gonna break my heart in Rebirth, but we
I
don't need to
know.
talk about that.
Yeah, I know.
Uh-huh.
What well, because now we're kind of leaning into that. What characters are you excited to see him interact with the most? Somebody just said, I think Barrett and Sid need to have a curse off.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see them getting a little tiffs with each other.
Like a little Sanji and Zoro action, like that kind of thing, where it's like there's always that little bickering thing because they're closest to age. Yeah, I think it would be interesting because I know he's more of a science person, but I also feel like he has this curious nature to him about things. So I would like him to get to interact a little bit more with Kate Sith and then find out that, you know, he works in the Shinra.
Right.
So I would like to see something play out with that situation where it's like, how does this work and all this stuff like that, and like always like digging at him or like trying to figure out what it works, because who knows, they may change how Reeves goes about it, because when all that stuff happens, like, oh, I work for Shinra, blah 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 blah, it's like, well, I don't like you anymore. But then like with Remake, it's like, great, now I love this guy. It's like, so maybe he'll be a little bit more upfront with people about that, hey, I work for this. Or it'll be like kind of like the Riku and Waka situation, where it's like, oh, let's keep this a secret, and then have that reveal.
5 minutes, we're good.
Okay.
What about you, Jess?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the idea of him and Yuffie is kind of fun. Like I could see him being a bit of like a mentor for Yuffie, who they both kind of have that playful side, but like, you know, he can help her learn when to like buckle down and all that. And when I played 7 Original, for a long time I had Sid and Vincent in my party, and it was my daddy's party. And I had a great time with that. And I think it'd be fun to see Sid and Vincent interact. I don't really know what I want that to look like.
Grumpy old men. That's
Yeah.
because they have Valen Wind, where it's
Yeah,
just them
yeah.
drinking tea and being old together and gardening.
love that.
It's so wholesome. I love all the
Yeah.
art.
Yeah,
Look, I'll
I'd
take
love to
any
see that.
excuse for more Matt Mercer voice.
Yeah,
So yes.
big time.
Actually, I'm curious about Yuffie's, like, because of Sonin, who's like a completely new
Yes.
character. If that, you know, he uses, is it a spear or is it a staff? I don't know what to consider it. I thought that
That's a good
maybe he was a
point.
demo
Hmm.
of the same gameplay
I like the way you're thinking.
or
That's
what
an
he'll
interesting
play
thought.
like. Hi, Jackie. Jackie's rating. Jackie's rating.
Hi,
Hi,
Jackie.
He's playing Yakuza 0, I think.
Oh,
Ooh, I am so obsessed with Yakuza. I hope you're enjoying it. Kiru is my husband.
Yeah, because that's actually a good lead into the next thing is gameplay style. I mean, I don't know. Has it really been confirmed we're not going to play him? I don't know when he would join at that point.
Yeah.
They didn't specify who wasn't going to be playable. Right now, there's just speculation, but they did say 2 characters will not be playable. So that's why people are automatically assuming it would be Vincent and Sid,
Yeah.
because it would be introduced later. Because we already know we can play a Sephiroth, so he's out.
Mhm.
But
And
I don't
Kate
know.
Sith.
Yeah, Kate Sith you can play,
yeah.
but will they consider like Biggs as a playable character? So it's like we don't know.
Right.
So
And
it's like,
Zach.
Zach.
yeah.
Mm. Oh.
So
Yeah.
Oh, another. Oh, hi, Coffee
Yeah.
Cat.
Hi, Coffee Cat.
hi, Coffee Cat.
Welcome.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of just speculation at this point, not
Yeah.
hard confirmation that I don't believe unless but to be fair, I've just raced over a lot of articles because I'm trying to go in as like I don't know anything as much as
Yeah.
possible, but then some things like I are unavoidable. But I have not seen at like anyone can correct me if I'm wrong that they confirmed the two that are not playable. But I do remember they said two playable were not playable.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been reading pretty much everything, and I think that's what I've gathered as well.
I think so. Yeah. I
I have a vague memory of them saying Vincent is not playable, but I
don't
could
know.
be wrong.
I don't know. Like I always just try to go. I mean, I can. No, I'm not gonna look. I was like, I can look at all the Square Enix blogs. I was like, no, never mind.
Protect yourself.
If we're wrong, we're wrong. We'll find
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
in February.
Right.
Um,
It's not that far away.
I know. What is
It's
it,
actually-
70 days now? Wait, is
Yeah.
it 69 days now?
Oh,
If
Is
it
it?
is.
nobody's made a
Wait,
good meme.
Wait, is
Yeah.
it? Is it? Because I know
Surely
it was 71
not.
days
Wait.
yesterday. Wait, today's 70 days left, right? Oh, I gotta think of a post
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow's
Oh.
important. Nice. Yeah.
Good thing we realized this.
You're welcome, chat. Get your nice memes ready.
So actually another thing I found in just kind of watching and reading stuff on Sid in the past week is apparently he was originally not supposed to join the party until after the rocket launch, but it would have been way too far into the game to get him because that's pretty much the end of the game. So that's why they
Right.
introduced him sooner. Like if that was the case, you'd never get him as a leader of the party. You'd never get any of that. So I'm curious, like, if he's not introduced at the normal spot, where does he come in? And I can't even begin to think of it. I think whatever the area around Cosmo Canyon is going to be completely different than what we remember it being, though.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to like I don't know what the overworld is gonna be like if there even is one, you know. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Let's see what else. Oh, did we gameplay style? What do you guys expect him to play like? Do you think he'll be like Sonin, or do you think he'll be something completely different?
I would hope that he has, because he's like a dragoon, right? So he should be able to like
Mhm.
jump around and stuff. Like having him be extra mobile could be really cool. And then yeah, spear style combat, I guess.
Yeah, I think he would probably play similar to Cloud, but with more mobility, because Cloud is a little slow. Yeah, I mean, it can also just be I don't know. Like he does need to be more mobile. I do know Sephiroth has a jump style move from the demo played for the Rebirth. So there could be something like that. I think that's when people will be super mad if Sid doesn't have jump, because the way I would abuse that move.
Yeah.
I know some people will also be upset if he doesn't have dynamite either. I'll be upset if he doesn't have a mop, okay?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Oh my god, great point. Great point.
I get upset over the dumb things. People get upset of like, I mean, I don't know. It depends on what people think about or dumb or silly, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, there was Nail Bat, so there's hope, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need the mop.
That would be iconic,
I
dude.
dug and dug and dug until I got that stinking mop.
All right, well, I have run out of questions, but I'm curious if there's anything else that you guys wanted to bring to the table about Sid and into discussion, even chat if you have anything that you wanted to say. There's a lot of insightful things I've read. But if you guys
I don't know. I got nothing. I was gonna say I thought we
Yeah.
covered a lot of good ground. Joy,
I
what were you
think
gonna
so,
say?
Yeah. I was like, it's nice that all the people in chat have been having similar wavelengths when it comes to Sid.
Mhm.
So we don't see, because we all just thought we were nuts at that point. We're like, okay, there's so many people, but then at the end of the day, negativity outweighs the positivity. We've seen that with the thank you Final Fantasy 7 Depth hashtag that has been going around, and they also said
Mhm.
they said you're welcome this morning. I don't know if anyone saw that.
Oh,
Mhm.
they did?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
really
they,
nice.
yeah, and like they said, thank you for all the kind words and everything. So,
That's
but
great.
yeah, so yeah, negativity is always louder than positivity, and the people that I ever interacted with never had a problem with Sid. Like, yeah, they would
Same.
talk about him being verbal and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, it is a little aggressive, but it's also realistic at the same time. It sucks, but that doesn't, when you see his overall arc of everything, it's like proof that people can develop and change. And then like he's just still at that point of unforgiveness. And so he needed the time to be able to forgive. And when he did, he changed. I think even as the game progressed, his cursing got less and less. So he became a little less vulgar.
Yeah. That's a good point too.
Yeah, that actually somebody had asked, what do you think is the most underappreciated element of Sid's character or arc? And I think it's that is that
Yeah.
so many people don't remember that like he overcomes his own issues in probably a more profound way than a lot of the other characters do. He works through it and he does become a way more positive character later on. And I admire that because a lot of us feel, like I said, he is a character that is a representation of just like your normal man getting held down by the man, the capitalism, and just being a cog in the wheel. And he rises above, realizes, hey, I achieved what I wanted, but I care about the planet. I want to take care of it. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Let's
I think a
see.
lot of people always just say, I think when they hear people like us say we love Sid, they think we don't understand that what he did to Shira is not okay. Like
Mhm.
he
Yeah.
should not talk to her like that. Like we are very aware of that. But I think they just automatically think we stand by his words and all that stuff like that. I was like, yeah, I think in the remake that he should be a little bit toned down, but not to the point where it doesn't happen because
Yeah.
it needs to happen.
Mhm.
And he has to go through that arc and he has to be verbally abusive, in that lack for a better word, of course, to be able to see that character growth in him. So he has to have that.
Yeah. He needs a basis that he can change from.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see another one I like. Which three do you all plan on maining? I think I really like how Red plays. I think Red and Tifa and
I could not get a handle on Red when I
Really?
played the demo. All I kept hearing was him going, I'm winded. I'm winded.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean you're winded?
he's just a puppy.
That's so sweet.
And so I was like, all right, I guess I gotta play some more time with Red. I was so confused.
Yeah. I don't know. I always love playing as Tifa because I love her, but also because like you just punch stuff. That is so great. But I don't know. I'll have to mix it up because I want to do everybody's combo limit breaks. That's what I need to see. So I
Mhm.
don't know.
And also, I really hope Sid does still run funny. He runs funny in Advent Children, so it's not like they didn't
Yeah.
take that away from him. He's like, I'll see you on the other side. um, but yeah, in original 7, my main team was always Sid, Yuffie, and Cloud.
Okay.
So I'm going to be platinuming Rebirth, so I'm going to be probably doing all of them because I'm pretty sure there's going to be some trophy like do all of the synergy moves.
I bet. Yeah.
But yeah, I depending on when we meet people, but I guess Sid probably won't be playable. Then it's all this stuff like that. But the main thing
Yeah.
that either way, Yuffie will be on my team because Yuffie was always on my team and I adore her.
And playing her in the DLC is so fun. She plays. I loved. Yeah. I loved that.
Lolly asked a question I will say I've never thought about. Does Sid have siblings? Yes or no? Just headcanon based. And I
Yeah.
don't know, but it's true. I don't think anybody has a sibling in all of the cast, as far as we know, and it's kind of weird when you think about it. But it could just
Yeah.
be it's a world where you don't have lots of kids because the
Yeah.
world is kind of in a situation where it's not really easy. That's all I could.
I feel like he has like oldest brother energy though,
Oh yeah, for sure.
or oldest child.
Yeah. No, I could see that. Anybody ever wonder why it's Sid and Cloud that have triple growth AP weapons? It is representative of their journeys and how much they themselves grow. That's very
Huh.
insightful, and you're right, because
I've never thought about that.
that is actually, yeah, wow.
Huh.
And yeah, I
Because
yeah,
they have the biggest growth arcs in the game.
they do.
Yeah.
Loving a character is not an automatic approval of every behavior. And yes, I think
Yeah.
characters with flaws are just so much easier to relate to. That's,
Mhm.
that's why I enjoy his story.
Yeah.
Jackie,
It's kind of like
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I was like, it's kind of like my same similarities of every time I watch an anime, I always pick not the main character to like and for taking My Hero, for instance, I love Bakugo because I know he's gonna have probably one of the greatest character arcs in the anime versus any other character. And I was right. But it was like these like situations where it's like you see the flaws in somebody, you're automatically like, they're gonna be doing something special, and I know. And then they end up being that special one.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So Jackie said, I think when you talk about loving Sid, maybe every time you don't want to provide a disclaimer about how you don't condone some of his behavior, but people put that on you anyway. And yeah, I feel like it shouldn't have to be said. Like,
No.
I don't know, do people just think that like because all of us like a character that we're just like they are so hot and perfect and they do nothing wrong? Like, let's talk about all the Sephiroth simps, right? Like,
Yeah.
are we not going to acknowledge?
Mama's boy.
Also, the fact, like, personally speaking, I love Reno. Reno dropped the fucking
Mhm.
plate.
Mhm.
Murdered
But I
an
love him.
entire
Yeah.
sector.
I love him.
But he's my favorite turret.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just there's gonna
Yeah.
be character flaws, you know.
Totally.
Like it makes them.
Makes them real.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and that's the beautiful thing about Final Fantasy VII cast. Like Final Fantasy was 7 specifically was never my favorite Final Fantasy. I loved it like to all get out. But I can never deny, out of all the Final Fantasies I've ever played, that Final Fantasy VII has the greatest cast of characters that has ever been invented in a Final Fantasy game, because they're all so different from each other. They all go through different story arcs, and they all just are grounded in are real. Like our main protagonist has a mental illness. Like he is struggling, and nobody's like he can't figure out why. And
Yeah.
if you re-listen to the Game Awards trailer, if you hear how Cloud says his voice line when he's like running through the ship, and
Yes.
his voice is so shaky, it's
Yes.
like you can hear how much he's dealing with something and he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And it's
And
like,
then Tifa comes in and she's like, let me help. Like, let me take care
Yeah.
of you this time.
yeah, I was like, definitely take that a listen so you can just hear his like, I am so lost. And that's what the greatest thing about the 7 cast is, that they all kind of have that situation within
Mhm.
them. And there's not like, yeah, there's literally no one, well, besides Kate Sith, there's literally no one in the 7 cast where I'm like, ugh, God, I hate them. Or it's like, God, I hate them, but in the because you're awesomely bad, like this is like okay. Like, and my other favorite character is Rufus, so it's
Mhm.
just like, yeah, you are terrible, but I love you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like the 7 cast is just that's why it's getting these remakes. That's why it has so many different installments, because as across all of the Final Fantasies, that cast has not been topped.
Agreed.
I agree as well.
One of my favorites. And the other thing is we want to talk about characters being, bad. What
Yeah.
they're doing is bad. So is being terrorists.
Yeah.
Like there's an interesting counterpoint there of like our main party is actually not necessarily the hero in some sense too. And I agree. I think that's why it's so iconic in so many ways.
Mhm.
Yeah. Everything's just complicated, and that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna pick 3 more questions, and then I gotta call it because I think my husband's gonna be home. Would any of you say there's anything about Sid that you feel personally you relate to, or an aspect of him that you see in yourself?
Yeah, I relate to Sid so much. Because, like, he's so ambitious. He wants to get so much done. And then if something fails, I feel like a lot of his guilt, too, is he blames himself, even on top of blaming Shira or whatever. And the way he wants to take charge later on, too, that I see myself in that, too. Like, well, nobody else is going to do it. Better do it myself. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm an Aries. So
Hell yeah.
so that whole demeanor of, well, no one else is gonna do it. Like, fine, I'll just do
It's
it
so
myself.
funny because I feel like that I attribute to a Capricorn, which is me, and I think that is actually a crossover of both of those signs, which normally are not. They're very at odds,
Yeah.
That's funny that there's that overlap.
Yeah, and it's just like as you get older, like back in the day, like he was just like that one person who has like the greatest move set and he's just a cool character. But then as you get
Mhm.
older and you see just the things that he struggled with and everything mentally, and like having his dreams just taken away, and having that anger for someone that messed up his dreams, even knowing he did the right thing at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's something where it's like a lot of people get put, me personally as well, get put in a situation where you have to make a decision that, do you want to follow what you're going through, or do you want to protect the person that you are there? And that's so relatable, where it's just like I find a way to try and make others happy,
Mhm.
instead of focusing on like my own path of things. And so that's kind of similar to how Sid was like, I had my dream, but I stopped it because I didn't want Shira to get turned into a barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say I relate to him in that his story helped me recognize my stubbornness before, kind of getting to that point. I moved across the country to be with my significant other, and in that, I cut all connection. Well, not cut. I'm on good terms, but I left like what my career opportunity was where I lived. And, that's something that I could harbor resentment for, but I'm a happy person and, I can't have resentment over it. I made that choice myself. Kind of like he hit the button. That was his choice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
that's as close as it gets for me.
I love that, B. That's awesome.
Let's see what else. We got any speculation of what Sid and Yuffie are up to in that part of the trailer where they're taking off. It really stood out to me as almost an escape sequence of some kind. I thought I saw Temple of Ancients. I don't know.
I think it was just a normal situation of when they try to escape, other than Sid chasing the tiny Bronco to jump on it. I think
Yeah.
it's probably just that situation of people, Palmer and stuff like that, are on their way, and then they try to take it before they do. And instead of like Cloud piloting the thing, it's actually Sid who is the actual pilot, and then you could still get shot down or something like that.
That's my guess too. Is like that tension of, and maybe the bounties are playing a part in that too.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, or it could be like just a epic action battle where they're coming in and the Shinra came in and like Tifa, Cloud, and Aerith are like, go on without us and get
Yeah.
the engine ready, and then like Yuffie goes with Sid.
I
Who
love the
knows?
Sid Yuffie dynamic.
I love it too because they were my two favorite characters.
Yeah, I want to do another playthrough of Seven Original before Rebirth, and now I got to do some Yuffie Sid party time because you make it seem like there's some good dialogue that happens
There
there.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. This
Yeah,
has
it just-
made
it's-
me want to play it again too, really badly.
Yeah.
I wish there was. I mean, to be fair, if any, I tell this to people because a lot of people have asked me like, should I play the original before Rebirth comes out? I was like, if you have time, but if you do not care about the outliers that say do this, do that, do this, do that, and if you're new to original and you only want to play it for the story, the current releases of Final Fantasy VII allow you to have God mode and
Mhm.
infinite limit break.
Yeah.
You can get through the entire story in 25 hours or less.
And even like when I played it, I used the triple speed to like grind. I don't know if I grinded that much levels, but just in general, the triple speed helps a lot.
Yeah. It's like there are those people like even because I did a replay before Yuffie's DLC came out, and I did a replay just to see if like there's anything that I wanted to do. And I did it that way, and I still had people who are like, "Oh, are you gonna go get the ultimate weapon, or are you gonna do that?" I was like, "No, I'm just going to go get Omni Slash. I know what I need, and I'm just put on
Yeah.
God mode and then go." Like literally, Sephiroth was dead in like 10 seconds.
Totally.
But I was like, I'm only doing this for like just revisiting the story and like just understanding if there's anything else that I can possibly think could happen for Rebirth and stuff like that.
Yeah, a
So
little
if-
refresher.
Yeah, so if you're just only looking for the story, yes, of course, it's always better to play with the normal experience. But with the interest of time, if you wanted to get it done, that is a suggestion.
Mhm.
But I also believe it's not a requirement because they are making remake, rebirth, and whatever the last one's going to be called a way for people to not have to have played the original.
Yeah.
It gives like the little, ooh, I played this. This feels great when you played it. But then if you didn't, then it's not like you're not missing anything.
I will say, having played remake first and then playing Seven Original, going back to remake after playing the original blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite gaming experiences ever is going back to remake after having played original and being like, so that's what they mean when they do this, and who says that, and this is a secret Easter egg, and that's what they're alluding to. Like, so satisfying to realize things, and realize things are going to change is also really a rewarding experience
Mhm.
too.
Yeah.
So
Because they early on show the Aerith scene, like because I'm replaying remake right now, and I was like, dang, that's like the second you meet her.
yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. But like other people have no, like people that didn't play the original have no idea what that scene was. But
yeah,
it's like, yeah, it's very nice to have
Totally.
that knowledge, but it's 100% okay if you do not play the original.
agreed. Yeah, I don't think it's a necessity at all.
Dr. Buttlasers asked if Sid isn't a playable, does this mean we're robbed of Sid on a Segway?
I hope not.
I'll go back in part 3. If we get control of him, I'm gonna go take him everywhere because that's what I did when I played the original game. I was like, can I go ride chocobos? Can I go like do things? And just so I could see the unique character model, because you can like go snowboard and stuff with him too if you want. To.
You
Mhm.
can?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
No snowboard mini game in
I
Rebirth.
know.
People were so mad about that. I was like, do you know the timeline and how the game works? You don't do
True.
snow until after.
True. That's a good point.
Yeah. And we know where it ends, so unless they
Yeah.
mix it around, but I don't think so. Also, it's emotional whiplash. I understand why they're ending where they are because it's really weird to do that and then 10 minutes later, all right, let's go snowboard. Like it's just like okay.
Yeah,
and it's the
I
end of
mean,
the disc.
yeah. I'm so curious to see how they're gonna end it, but that's a whole other conversation.
Exactly. Anyways, I really appreciate you guys coming, and we missed Finny today. I know Finny would have
Yeah.
added to that conversation about villains, her amazing dialogue about Hojo and how people hate on
Mhm.
Hojo, and I feel that too. I did that Lucrezia video, and
Yeah.
some of the shit that I read, about her and him and just opinion, I'm like, they're characters, you know, they can't hurt you in real life, right? Like, yeah, Hojo is awful, but oh my,
Yeah.
chill. But I appreciate you guys. If you guys haven't met Jess or Joy, I've done shout outs already in the chat. My mods want to shout them out again. I want to do more stuff like this because I
This is
said
so
it
fun.
before.
Yeah.
I love talking about these games, and I know so many people who have their thoughts and opinions too, and sometimes it feels like we never really get the chance to. So, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you for having us. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.